call this special city council meeting for August 14th, 2023. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Kevin Canada.
Here.
Tim Root.
Here.
Cindy Fear.
Here.
And Scott Palau.
Here.
All right, tonight's agenda only has one item. Discuss the city's budget, any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda.
And will we approve the agenda as presented?
Motion by Councilman Kadada.
Second.
Second by Councilperson Fear. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There are no minutes, no public hearings, presentation of citizens' petitions and comments. Comments limited to 2 minutes. Nothing on the consent agenda. There is no old business. On to new business, discuss the city's 2024 budget. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. This is our fourth budget on the city's preliminary 2024 budget and property tax levy. A lighter agenda than previous meetings, but talk about the property tax levy and its impact on wages and insurance, a couple updates to administration, planning and zoning, and then police. So nothing's changed on the property tax levy as proposed. It was the middle of the road one. Right now, basically it's at a balanced budget, couple $1,000 surplus, but that is not taking into account any of the public safety aid that Jason and I have been working on and looking at, and we talked today about coming up with a budget so we know how that, I think it was $209,000 is going to be spent, if it's all law enforcement or some fire. I think the intent of it was mainly law enforcement and wages and things like, basically everything they defunded they gave back and then some is what I get from that. So we've got to account for that. But again, the increase on the houses ranges from less than $1 to about $170. And the businesses that we track, a decrease of about 26 to an increase of just over $41. So, any questions on that? It's remained consistent through the process. So
That's just kind of estimating where their values are going to end up, correct? Like the home values for next year?
That's well, overall 7%, but the ones that we track are what we got in the mail for our equalization meeting earlier this year in April.
Okay.
Yeah, so unless there's any changes, that's what they, at least the houses that we track, that's what they would be.
Okay.
Like I said, it generates a little over $101,000. It is a decrease. Let's see, our tax rate would go to 52.648, which is a decrease of over 3%. And then since 2018 to proposed 24, the tax rate, or the tax levy, excuse me. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the numbers here. The tax rate has went down just under 10% since 2018. And then the additional revenue that the levy generates of the $101,000 is a decrease of about 76% compared to last year. So, wages and insurance. I know we've talked about this at each of the three previous meetings. We proposed to be 5.5%. 2% overall increase in the pay scale January 1st, and then 3.5% at anniversary dates. We discussed this last year. Several employees I proposed to receive larger pay increases. This was the first year. Next year would be the second year of three. I know the library director has been at the previous meetings requesting pay increases for her current employees, given their experience, and then bringing on a new employee at the higher rate of pay for starting. So she had some concerns about getting that separation. So if you were to do a one-step increase for those two employees, or I'm sorry, if we did the 2 steps, it would be the 2,800, and then if we just did the 1, it would be 1,400. And I'm pretty sure that does include PERA and Social Security and all the other expenses, benefit-related expenses that the city pays. I did look, and both of our existing clerks both started in 2016, so they've been with us for about 7 years. And based off the information I did get from the library director, they do, just given the size of our library, it's kind of like every other department, right? It's everyone does everything and involved in programming and outreach more so than maybe you would at a typical library where everyone is, this is what I do, this is what you do.
What was their wage that they were hired at?
Oh, back then, probably,
Pretty cheap. Huh?
yeah. no,
Was it in the 10 range? I think
I
it might have been in the 10
I
something.
thought it was like 12 something,
Okay.
but I could be wrong. So, but that's, it happens when you increase your pay scale to, you know, basically a minimum wage of $16.06 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things have changed in the last 7 years.
Yeah.
You know.
That's for sure.
I do believe that for discussion tonight, I'm positive that I included 2 steps for them, but I want to make sure, yes. So that if, I'm gonna talk to Marguerite and, you know, so she knows what's going on. But that is in the budget right now, that 2 steps. Be nice if we could get back. I thought we were at a point with our pay scale that it was like, hey, we're there. We don't have to do this, but here it is. It's the library and, you know, PD and, but I don't, to your point, lots of change, lots of changes in the
Are
last
we-
24 months.
We are in the pay scale range for, appropriate for these tasks and these employees, right? I mean, the
Pay equity.
pay equity, thank you.
For the pay equity, yeah, because that would be the, based off of the points and the pay range.
Okay.
So, yeah, they're staying in the same grade. Health insurance, working with our broker to obtain quotes for a self or level funded health insurance plan. So I provided him all the information that he needs to get quotes for that. We did receive rates, renewal rates for our current provider and then several others that we get prices from. If you just keep the same year or age band, the average increase for United Healthcare was about 4.5%. Now, if you went, you know, 45 to 46, it's more, but if you just, you know, a 46-year-old and a 46-year-old, it's up 4.58%. And then 6.5% when you account for the age increase. So the 3 plans that we have currently are a $2,800 deductible. That's increasing to $3,100. The $3,000 is staying the same. They do have a new option of $3,500, and then the $4,250, that deductible is going up to $5,000. So As you guys know, they have to adjust every year for, what is it, gold, silver, bronze plans. Let's see, Blue Cross was 5.23%, and they only have a calendar year deductible, and our deductible is 11.1. So we'd actually have two deductibles within that 2-month period. You'd have November and December, and then you get on the calendar year. Health Partners, almost 13% increase, and Medica, over 17% increase. So I guess we'll see where the numbers come in for this self or level funded plan. And I also requested that they get a quote on that NICE, that was that supplemental benefit program that USI came and presented on, so. Any questions on that? I should have.
Coverage-wise, from United Healthcare to Blue Cross to Health Partners to Medica, I mean, networks are basically the same as we have now and everything. There's nothing that is much better with Blue Cross or Health Partners or anybody else.
No. Yep, we always make sure we quote the open access or their largest network
Yep.
availability, just with the Mayo and all their kind of offshoots that they're buying up in the area. Just wanna make sure that they're included. Some updates on admin. Haven't listed as the plug number, but put 70 grand in for siding that 3R Landmark School. I don't know what the cost is gonna be. You probably have, did we replace a third of that siding maybe? I don't think it was half. I should actually track on that date of when we did that, but that was a good 6-7 years ago probably. I would say.
And what do you expect the annual maintenance cost?
I would say it's pretty minimal. I guess I'm not sure if every time that Public Works goes over there, but my understanding it's pretty minimal.
Aside from turning the water on one time a year and winterizing it, that's about it.
Is there power and heat to it all the time?
No,
Does not?
not heat in the winter.
Oh, we don't need it in the
No.
winter?
Not at
that
all?
Not that I don't think
So
so.
you winterize
We
it?
we winterize it every year,
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's winterized.
so.
Is there any grants that you can think of for,
Well, I have to
major?
reach out to the Rice County Historical Society.
Mhm.
Like Steve said, that they've got grants for maintenance and stuff,
Yeah.
so. And it seems like they're taking more of an active role, because when I talked to him, was it last week or the week before, he was saying that they were gonna help with being open community days, so.
Anybody toured? Ready to see it?
I saw some pictures and there were several people in it, so,
People there,
so
yeah.
that's good.
That's all I saw too.
They were like looking at stuff, so they must have
There was
had
interest.
some connection here or something,
Right.
looking for some relative, I would assume.
Okay, 2018 is when so it hasn't even been that long.
It's not longer ago than that.
Mhm.
I just pulled up I couldn't find it, so I pulled up an article that said that I'd have to go back, can't read it all, but we
Orange
budgeted.
white lab sign.
That was when
Short
we had,
hail?
we had
Yeah.
Nick Slavic painting at that time. When we got the grant for the paint.
Yep, he did it that time, and then, I'm not sure who Tim Sklozach had contracted with, if he contracted with them, or if he did, I can't remember, but.
So 2018 probably would have been just a paint job. Before that would have been the siding replace, I would
I
think.
think that's what it,
Oh, okay, well, yeah, also, yeah, just the headline said we had the project bid
Mhm.
approved, but I don't subscribe,
I would,
so I can't read
See
the
the rest.
article.
Right.
and I got, I don't know which one I have to go over and take a closer look at it. but
Oh, wait, I'm sorry,
at least-
2014.
2014.
Updated in 2018.
At least from the road, it, looks worse where the old siding was versus the new siding,
Mhm.
so. hopefully, once we get that all pulled off and recited, that it'll stick
I
and last.
did talk to Rob Lenzen with Lenzen Painting about that, and he said that's actually, because he does a lot of farm stuff, old farmhouses and stuff. He says they do have a product, because that is one of the problems that old wood doesn't want to absorb.
Yep.
They apparently have a product they can put on. So I feel like I can find out more about that, because if we don't have to recite it, if they
Yeah.
can do that, it may help.
What was his name?
Rob Lenzen Painting. I can get you his info.
Yeah.
Because I had a similar situation on my building, because there was paint coming off, and he, I'm like, well, what's gonna happen? You're gonna paint over the old paint and it's gonna fall off. And he says, no, we have this stuff, some kind of bond or whatever, and they put it on there, and it seals and sticks everything together. It's all like Elmer's glue, whatever, and then the paint all adheres. So it serves as a glue.
Right, definitely worth trying.
Because I mentioned to him that this might be a project, and he said, yeah, we can do that.
Mhm.
So, I'll get you his info.
Perfect, thanks.
Yep.
I still need to meet with staff and kind of talk about logistics of a potential part-timer at City Hall and how that plays out. And then we will need a new website. They know after the first of the year, or while you're in transition, they're not going to support the website that we have. So we've got to go to a responsive, more mobile-friendly website. And that pretty much seems to be, out of the ones that we looked at, or well, we looked at quite a few, GM United previously, they're all that way now, so. Probably the one nice thing would be to, it costs money, but to get a notification blast where people can sign up and you can just send out a notice, water main break on whatever, 5th Avenue Northeast or whatever. Merry Christmas, Community Days, whatever.
Emergency.
Yeah,
Water bill?
Yeah. So, I think, does Rice County have that code red or something like that?
Yep.
Any questions on those 3 items? The only thing that I can think of for admin is, I gotta add some costs for election software, and with the change in the law, talking to Rice County today, we have to coordinate with the villages to see if they want us to go there and do absentee ballots. So, that would be a couple judges for 3 elections next year.
This year's just a special election.
Yeah, I was told, 1/1/24 is when that is going into effect. I said, works for me. P&Z. I'll probably, once Corey gets on board, I'll sit down with him and kind of go over this and see if there's anything that he would be looking for, but pretty basic. As of right now, building permits and LGA cover the expenses of the planning and zoning department, so. Building permit revenue is down just based off of historicals, anticipating 4 land use permit applications. Professional services, just typical stuff from historical, recording documents, having the city code online, IT. Engineering, there's no real specific project, just general. Highway 19 with the roundabout, I'm sure we'll have some expenses there. Whatever year the mill and overlay is gonna be now, 20, 30, whenever. Seems like we're all continually having meetings on that. With reduction in building permit revenue, inspection fees are down, and what we pay to our inspectors, about 60% of the revenue that we collect. And then as far as dues and subscriptions, it's kind of more mapping stuff. Building permits, Data Link is our GIS with WSB. Eris is our GIS that we have on our computer. iWork is our building permit software, and then we have an Adobe license through the League of Minnesota Cities. Any questions on P and Z.
What's anticipated start date for Corey?
September 11th.
Perfect.
So that's all said, he has accepted the position? Great.
Yep, he dropped his background packet off about 7 this morning. So
Good.
I gotta get that to Jason to review and get that back to me, but he doesn't seem too worried about it, so. Or worried at all. Police, I know Chief Schmitz is here, but revenues consist of the property tax levy, LGA, police aid, fines and forfeitures and reimbursements, expenses, wages and benefits. Our current labor agreement goes through the end of '24. I know here recently, the chief has brought a proposal to increase officers' pay to 7% across the board for '24 due to the labor market and agencies using signing bonuses, lateral moves, and pay increases to attract or retain their officers. And we'll be meeting on that in more detail. We met a little bit today, but meet more on it between now and the next budget meeting. Based off the numbers, it's about a $13,000 expense for '24. The one-time public safety money can be used to offset wages. And this number, as with anything else, continues to increase, but it's about $7,000 to, from start to finish, to get an officer on board and on the street. Current pay increases across the board have been generally consistent. Like I said before the meeting, I thought we were past that point where it was this department, that department. We got our pay scale and everyone was moving along, but things change. In addition, the chief is proposing to add a full-time officer. That would be the elimination of the part-time position and 2 full-time. We were talking today, if we get the go-ahead on that, we would probably start that here yet this year, and hopefully have someone on board by the first of the year. I don't even know how many applications we would get. 1, 10, 0. Time will tell, I guess.
Can we promote one of our part-time from within to full-time?
You could.
How many part-time do we have now, Jason?
We have 2.
Okay, and what about, how many hours do they each work? Rough guesstimate.
What was the question, Kim?
How many hours do they work? Approximate.
Well, Brody, who basically takes all the shifts, is probably pushing, we'll push close to that 1,040 hours a year, if not a little bit more.
Okay, how about the other person?
He doesn't work it much at all.
So do we need to find, is he available to work, or does he?
It's just
Yeah.
Brody, since this is his only job,
Mhm.
so he basically wants all the shifts. So he works everything.
Okay, he's not burning out, is he?
What's that?
He's not burning out, is he?
No, he's not burning out. I mean, he's looking to go full-time, and right now, he is being backgrounded by Rice County,
Ah, okay.
so.
Are we competitive with Rice County as our wages?
That's why we're having this conversation.
From what I heard, and I can't confirm this, it's just hearsay, that I think the county starting wage is 37 to 38,
Okay,
and what their top out, I don't,
that's, yeah. And if we start someone, they are at
30,
30-ish,
31.
okay? Without any, regardless of their experience, or do we look at some of their experience and?
we do look at lateral experience,
Okay.
and depending on that, move them up in the pay scale.
Okay.
So you need to go through the whole process of opening up for jobs, and I can't promote directly within.
We can promote directly within.
You could.
Do you want to consider
Would
that?
we, I was just gonna say, would we not want to keep him on board because he's already, he's already set with Lonsdale?
We've had those conversations.
Is he not interested, or?
He was interested, but what he wanted to start at was above what Cody is
Okay.
on the pay scale. And I told him, I says, well, Cody's been here, well, now a little over a year, and it's full-time. I says, I can't put you above Cody, because you don't have any more experience in what Cody does. So,
Okay.
I do agree with that, that would cause some hard feelings, I think, if we did.
yeah, I.
Promote the
do that.
full-time.
So is he open to further discussions, or is that just, that's the deal, or?
The vote sailed, or what? Have we lost him, maybe?
I've tried having open discussions with him, you know, because I told him, I said, well, you know, I could probably get you to that second step, but in two, you gotta realize that, you know, we are in a contract and we are gonna be doing negotiations, you know, next year. You know, more likely the way law enforcement, the way that environment has been going and the way other agencies, their pay has been increasing, you know, that there would most likely be an increase.
It will be hard to get a applicant if we are not competitive with, around, with the surrounding, and not just the county, but New Prague or Elton Market or.
I seen in the paper today that entire police force in Goodhue quit.
Yes.
That was, I suspect that's from money, I would imagine.
From what I understand, yes. But I know I've reached out to, well, I've talked to the chief of police in Newmarket. Their starting wage is 34 and some change. They do have, they will move officers laterally depending on their experience, and they're having a hard time. They say you can't find officers.
Self-inflicted wound, I
Right,
hate to say that, but.
you're right,
No,
it is.
It is, I mean, with elected officials at the state and federal level, on the police movement, any of the media that doesn't help,
Right.
help it all at all, helps out.
Right.
Yeah, 'cause our contract was 22, 23, and 24.
Yes.
Yeah, so we were right there for 22.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, are we at a point where you want to authorize for bids like tonight, or openings? Or do you want to go through the whole process, or do you want to have further discussions, or where do you at?
Well, I was just bringing it to you as far as, if it's something that the council was in favor of, you know, that would be something that would be put in the budget for. And then basically come back to the council, requesting a full-time for 2024.
I think we should.
I would agree, and the thing about it too, is, you know, just, you know, Brody's being backgrounded with Bryce County. Still has to go through the field training process and everything else, there's no guarantee he could continue on. If we could get something in that, you know, in that neighborhood, that's a sure thing versus, what is it, 3 months or whatever, and if he didn't make it, he's unemployed, then what? You know, would you,
Yeah, and we've even had conversations, and, or I've had conversations with him about, and this was months back, you know, about, well, hey, can I start full-time September? And I said, well, since that's obviously up to the council, and, but then it kind of fizzled out, and he was getting backgrounded by other departments and never really got back to me as far as what his intentions were.
And it's certainly not we're eliminating this position, you know, hey, there's the option to apply, or you can use us. But if we can't get a full-timer, how are we gonna get a part-timer?
Right.
We're gonna have zero experience, and for the amount of training that's required and availability, I mean, you know, field training would be 8 months.
Right.
and I know in talking with the officers, I mean, very candidly, you know, one-on-one and as a group, they all say that this is by far the best group they have ever worked with.
Mhm.
So, you know, that's an important factor too. There's,
Is the county just adding officers, or has there been retirements or movement, or?
They're adding officers, cause now the government center, they want a licensed peace officer at the government center, full-time. So that's another added position. I think they wanna add another officer to the road. So I think they were in the process of adding 2 or 3 positions in the last year.
I even know, state patrol trooper went to county, so that was very recent too, so.
And 2 is for anticipated retirements coming up, I think, next year.
I think personally, if we were gonna add in 24, if we needed to, you know, if he would want to go full-time, I think we could offer that to him and figure out the next 2-3 months, I mean, for pay. I mean,
We're not sitting in a bad spot.
Right.
Oh, and we did talk about that, prevent having to go through that whole process
Right.
of hiring.
Mm-hmm.
A win-win for both sides.
Yep.
More money.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything comes down to money.
Mhm.
Okay,
Well, I think we got the direction that we needed, so.
well, and like, I think like the council said, you wanna take another run at them, you think we can negotiate something out, just bring it back and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, I can definitely have a conversation with them.
I think we wanna keep him, you
Mhm.
know, he's an excellent employee, he works, fits in well with the rest of the group.
He said he really doesn't want to leave. He's just starting off in his career and he wants the opportunity to,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
Right.
to have a professional career and own a home and everything else, and where
Mhm.
he's right now, he can't.
Yep.
Looking out for number one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see what you can do.
Professional services, proposed increase, telephone increase as well, that's mainly due to security cameras for the wireless internet connection for the puck. We talked about getting a camera at Stika Park. Does council have desire for cameras anywhere else, or, are we getting to the point where we're at 50% of our buildings, and it's just, every building has security now?
Mm-hmm.
Has the cameras been a deterrent?
Yes. And I know that they've been very helpful. I know we just had last week, vandalism at J.C. Park, the bathroom. Basically tracked down who it was through the camera system. Otherwise, without it, we would have no idea.
How much does it cost per camera, one-time fee to buy it? And then secondly, what is it like per month to pay for per cam?
What's the wireless puck, $40?
Per month?
Yeah.
I assume you can tie it to your phones and all that if you need to.
Well,
Yeah.
and I suppose the camera's dependent on the quality and the angles and 360 or whatever, but what are they going for, 2 to 4,000 or something, or?
Yeah. And basically, we went with a 3-year contract, so whatever we paid was on a 3-year contract, so now basically all we're paying is for the internet service.
Got it. So that one-time public safety money could be used to buy cameras.
So
right-
what-
I'm sorry, so we have these cameras in the parks right now, and, you said, well, what, are we gonna eventually have them on all, facilities or whatever? So would this necessarily be considered public safety? Or could some of this come out of each other department's fund also? I mean, it just as a,
Could.
I mean, I don't know, in the end, it all means the same,
Right.
but, parks are we have more facilities in parks, we probably
Mhm.
have more cameras there than we would at Public Works or,
Right.
City Hall or
It's
something
an
like
operating
that.
expense for that
For
department.
that department.
So do you have them at where do you have JC and Trenda? That's
Trenda, JC, Trichka, and Vets Memorial. 4 places, right?
So Trichka, you have a bit of hockey rink, the pavilion?
Inside there, yeah.
And one puck has, like, we won't be close enough for 2 parks to run off of one puck or anything, right? I mean, it needs 1 puck per camera.
Yeah.
It's a similar system to the way the lights work. It's kind of its
Own deal.
card.
Yep.
Well, I think it's just one, I don't think it takes 1 puck per camera, I think, like at Trenda Park, I think it's only 1 puck, because they run that one internet to run both those cameras there, and I think the same as at Churchill. Because there's just the main hub that the cameras feed into, and that just sends it out.
Mhm.
So Steak is the only one that needs it then, is what you're gonna say?
I would say for right now,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know, kind of threw it out there, it's like,
Mhm.
I mean, otherwise, really, I mean, the liquor store, I know I'm talking with her, I need to get you guys in contact for cameras through whoever we're using for the parks. But she needs a new system down there, that's going on where that is 16 years old or something. They're starting to get grainy and pixelated and hard to see. But, I mean, there's a couple of parks, Helena, but really, for city buildings, it's just Public Works, City Hall, and Fire Department, I think.
Well, I think
I'm not
you definitely should do
advocating for it,
Steak
but
and
it's
Pork.
like, yeah, well,
Right. I mean, it should probably get phased into,
Right.
you know, the next.
But I
4
would
or
say you
5
should do
years
the
to
liquor
everything.
stores.
Yes, I'm meeting with her tomorrow, I believe, to
I was at a minimum, those two.
drill that down, and I gotta get her contact information to Jason to price out and meet with whoever your salesman is or whatever. So,
But, you know, but if it's gonna be on a building, it doesn't necessarily have to be integrated in with that same system, because you could have a standalone system that would save. I don't know what the cost for it.
At the liquor store?
Well, liquor store or
Yeah.
here or fire hall or whatever, you can have its own DVR and,
Right.
you know, and all that stuff, so I don't know, and weigh the cost
Mhm.
versus buying the remote system that everything's reported to, you know, the PD server. Do you need to have that on all the buildings when you can secure them?
Mhm.
Right.
Does that also, could that also lead into savings on our insurance policies, being that we have essentially security?
Security guys will tell you yes, but it's usually only about 5% at best.
Yeah, I guess I have to follow up on that. In all the years that I've done the insurance renewal, I've never seen.
Discount for that?
I know in homeowners, they always say you'll get a discount, and it's been, you know, 3 to 5% at best.
55 alive, then you
Eating us
can
up with 30%
29
increase.
cents.
Till you're 55.
Yeah, the parks, or the cameras at each location are probably a longer term
Yep.
priority, but.
But yeah, with Stika Park being somewhat isolated back there, and just the amount of
Right.
activity down there now.
It is proposed to purchase a new squad to replace the 2018. We did budget 25 grand this year. So for the equipment that doesn't switch over and the vehicle itself, we're looking at about $55,000.
I remember when they were like 25.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
It seemed to last longer too.
Encrypted radios, these are the 800 megahertz. When that decision was made 19 years ago, the decision was made to not be encrypted. Now there's a trend to go encrypted. I don't know why we just didn't buy encrypted from the beginning, but whatever. So we have been budgeting this year and next year as well. I think we're doing it for 3 years. 4 years. To replace those or actually get the encrypted ones. And it will run a deficit because of the squad, car being half or so funded this year, with the full expense being budgeted next year. Any questions on PD or, I mean, really anything that we went over, that's kind of it.
The building wise, is there anything that was forgotten during the build or that you came across that you wished you had, or
Flagpoles.
flagpoles?
No.
Yeah, that got brought up the other day too.
Right. I do think that'd be a good idea to have them.
Yeah.
I think it's
no.
appropriate.
Yep.
It is something that was missed. And I thought about it, and it would be nice, once City Hall gets up there, that you have kind of your central location where the flags are at, so Public Works isn't, you know, going around too many places when it comes time to lower the flags half-staff. Anyways, yeah. No, I can talk to Joe about that. Get something figured.
I think, I mean, especially on the edge of town like that, you should have something up on the hill, I think.
How much do they run these days?
About
It's like a
4,500
lot.
bucks.
I was gonna say $5,000 for not a very tall one.
How about like a Perkins one?
Camping World.
Yeah.
I think
So we'll
that's
start next week
one-time
on that
safety
budget.
money be gone, right? No.
Flag will cover the building.
Just the flags themselves are.
They are expensive.
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
yes.
Actually got an email from Wolt last week. I believe they'll be at the 31st meeting with the final pay request. So, we should be having our 1 year, I asked her about that too, a 1 year walkthrough. So, that'll be nice. Any questions or anything else? that you
Quick
guys-
question for Joe. On Saturday, you had brought up about when you and I and Scott were talking about the F-250 of possibly looking at putting a box on that, a utility box.
I think it's a real option. You know, it's a 2004 with 50-something thousand-ish miles on it. If you take the box off and put a service body on, I mean, when the new ones I'm looking at are $55,000, I think it's an appropriate move to spend $5,000 on something of that nature. In the matter of a service truck similar to what Glenn has for your truck. That was used prices. I haven't contacted anybody to see what a new one would cost.
Right. I think it might be smart to keep your eyes open for
Yeah,
it, that's for
pretty
sure.
handy.
Yeah. I mean, really, there's I say anything else, the truck's pretty good. It's in the shop right now, actually, the column broke on it, which is apparently a pretty common thing, and
The shift tube?
yeah, Mark was amazed that it had lasted this long with how many trips and things that we take with it, so. You know, aesthetically, I think if you take that box off and put something else on it, it's gonna dress it up quite a bit.
Is there much rust on it, or?
On the box, but
I mean,
the box
the
and
cabin?
the front bumper and a front seat is probably the three things we could look at replacing it, but at a fraction of the cost of a new truck.
I think it'd be worthwhile looking into it anyhow and seeing what the numbers would be.
Yeah. And the availability of vehicles as well.
That's all I had.
Okay, anything else, anybody?
Prefer anything specific for the next meeting? For enterprise, water, sewer, liquor?
I suppose if we're looking at holding the line on taxes, we'll have to look at water and sewer specifically, I suppose. See how that is.
Yes, I think based off of the last couple of years' audits, water rate increase is probably gonna be recommended. Just, you know, operating in a deficit for the last couple of years. There is that sewer fund repayment, that 400 grand that we will not make next year. So there's some available funding, whether that's for 602 down the road or, you know, proportionate, or whatever. And then also the liquor fund is sitting at over $450,000. So probably looking at some type of a transfer or something. I know in these numbers, what is not included so far is pickleball. So that might be the potential funding for that.
Mhm.
So I talked to WSB about some cost estimates for what that would cost to get some base and pavement, and obviously we'd be looking at permanent nets
Yeah.
at that point, so. But, yeah, I don't know, just things, I mean, all right, we got everything, oh, got that, and figure out how to make it work. But
Yeah,
I don't know how much less asphalt is than concrete, I would assume some, but that's the one thing I hear is the concrete is not the same as sport court with
Yeah.
asphalt for pickleball.
I think if you're gonna go through trouble building, you should build it right.
Mhm.
Isn't
Exactly.
it,
Right.
is it CNH or who's the guy in town?
Yep.
Doesn't he do that?
yep, he does that, yeah.
I think the kind of common to have like a six unit to get, 4 the long way and then 2 this way, if you have to minimize the space, that is. And then with the sun and stuff. but-
Yeah. Yeah, looking
See what
at
you're doing.
locations for the sun, the JC Park, those trees are so established, it
Mhm.
kind of factors the sun out,
Right.
Right.
which is nice.
Okay, anybody else?
Will we adjourn?
Motion by Councilman Canada,
Second?
second by Councilperson Fuhrer. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.